Napoleon Bonaparte was one of the most influential and controversial figures in world history. He was neither a royal family nor a great French nobleman. Yet, in a short time, he rose from a young officer to ruler of nearly all of Europe. Napoleon's story is one of military brilliance, boundless ambition, extraordinary glory, and tragic downfall. This is the story of Napoleon Bonaparte, the genius general who shook Europe. Napoleon was born in 1769 on the island of Corsica, a territory newly annexed by France. He came from a modest, noble family. From childhood, Napoleon felt like an outsider, both in Corsica and in France. He grew up with a strong sense of ambition and a desire to prove himself. Napoleon received his military education in France and demonstrated exceptional talent in artillery. He was known for his quiet, serious demeanor and intense focus on the study of war strategy. He spent much time reading the history of conquest and warfare, particularly about great figures like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar. Napoleon's great opportunity came with the outbreak of the French Revolution. This revolution shook the old order of France and destroyed the aristocratic system. For Napoleon, this was a golden opportunity. Amidst the political chaos and wars against European powers, his military talents began to emerge. In 1793, Napoleon gained attention after successfully recapturing the city of Toulon from British forces. This success made him a household name. At a very young age, he was promoted to general. Napoleon then led a military campaign in Italy. It was here that his reputation as a military genius truly cemented. With a smaller and less equipped army, Napoleon defeated the Austrian and Allied armies one by one. He moved swiftly, separating his enemies and destroying them before they could unite. The Italian campaign was not only a military victory, but also a political one. Napoleon became a hero of the French people. His name was celebrated, and his popularity surpassed that of the politicians in Paris. But Napoleon's ambitions did not stop in Europe. In 1798, he led an expedition to Egypt. His goal was not only military, but also strategic, to cut off Britain's trade route to India. Initially, Napoleon achieved victories on land, including the famous Battle of the Pyramids. However, at sea, the French fleet was destroyed by the British Navy under Admiral Horatio Nelson. Napoleon was trapped in Egypt. Although the campaign ultimately failed militarily, the Egyptian expedition had a major impact on science, including the discovery of the Rosetta Stone. While Napoleon was in Egypt, the political situation in France deteriorated. The Directory government was weak and unstable. Seeing an opportunity, Napoleon returned to France and in 1799 staged a coup. With the support of the military and his popularity, he seized power and became first consul. Effectively, Napoleon was now the ruler of France. As leader, Napoleon undertook sweeping reforms. He reorganized the administrative system, improved state finances, and most famously drafted the Napoleonic Code. This legal code affirmed equality before the law, protected property rights, and established modern legal principles whose influence is still felt today. However, behind these reforms, Napoleon increasingly centralized power. In 1804, he crowned himself Emperor of the French. This act marked the end of the republican ideals of the French Revolution and the birth of a new empire. As emperor, Napoleon fought a series of major wars known as the Napoleonic Wars. He faced coalition after coalition of European powers: Britain, Austria, Prussia, and Russia. In many battles, Napoleon demonstrated his genius. The Battle of Austerlitz in 1805 is considered his military masterpiece. With clever strategy and exploiting the terrain, Napoleon destroyed the combined forces of Austria and Russia. Europe fell under the shadow of France. In a short time, Napoleon controlled most of the European continent, either directly or through puppet states ruled by his own family. However, one enemy he was never able to completely defeat was England. Failing to defeat England at sea, Napoleon attempted an economic strategy through the continental system, a blockade of British trade in Europe. This policy actually caused economic hardship in his territories and sparked resistance. In Spain, the people engaged in guerrilla warfare, weakening the French army. For the first time, Napoleon's war machine began to falter. Napoleon's greatest mistake came in 1812, when he decided to invade Russia. With over 600,000 troops, Napoleon launched the largest invasion in European history at that time. However, the Russians did not fight directly. They retreated, burning their own territory to the ground. The Russian winter proved to be the deadliest enemy. Famine, extreme weather, and constant attacks devastated Napoleon's army. Of the hundreds of thousands of soldiers, only a fraction returned. The invasion of Russia was a turning point in the demise of Napoleon's empire. After the defeat in Russia, European powers rose up against France. Napoleon was ultimately defeated and forced to abdicate in 1814. He was exiled to the island of Elba. But his story was not over. In 1815, Napoleon escaped from Elba and returned to France. He briefly regained power in a period known as the 100 Days. However, his reign ended at the Battle of Waterloo, where he was defeated by British and Prussian forces. This time, Napoleon was exiled even further away, to the island of St. Helena in the Atlantic Ocean. Napoleon spent the rest of his life in exile. He died in 1821 at the age of 51. The cause of his death is still debated, whether it was natural illness or poisoning. But Napoleon's legacy is vast and complex. He was a conqueror who brought destruction and war to Europe, but also a reformer who established modern law and government. He destroyed old monarchies, yet built new empires. Napoleon Bonaparte is proof that one man with intelligence, ambition, and opportunity can shake the world. From a poor Corsican officer to a European ruler, then to a lonely fall on a deserted island, his story is one of the most dramatic in human history. That is the story of Napoleon Bonaparte, the genius general who shook Europe.